Hello. Let me just check.
Oh, looks like
I think that was us. Yeah, I got trigger happy with the refresh button.
Yes.
Oh, there's an ad. It takes a bit. Cool.
Whew. This is the last episode.
Last one. It's been 4 hours so far. So this is number five and six.
Number 5 and 6. 5 and 6 hours.
I guess we'll wait a few minutes to see.
Yes, so we're going to wait a couple minutes to make sure that people who want to join have time to join. What else?
What are we going to do today for those people that are here already?
Well, I don't want to bore them by saying it again once we actually start.
You're not wrong.
So, how is everyone? So as soon as you join the stream channel, is it called the channel?
Stream, just a live stream.
Yes. As soon as you join the stream, say hi, just so we know that you're there. And we're just going to give a couple minutes to everyone to join.
Good morning. Oh, we got a few.
Good morning.
We got Lordy Labs. We got Pre-Tech Ray, Just Jeffries, Paul, Mama Codes.
Hey.
Wow, quite a few people.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the stream.
So today's going to be an exciting episode because we are closing our Let's Build a Game series. So in episode 1, we kind of gave you some best practices. We brainstormed our skill initially just to find out what we wanted to do, and the viewers actually contributed most of the idea.
Yeah.
So we were pitching back and forth ideas, and we ended up picking an idea that came from the viewers, and we crafted it together. The second session was more about planning it out. So how would we need to architect it? What sort of level progression would we have? What was the theme? We talked a bit more about the details, and we started implementing it from a code perspective. Now, I've done some work in the past week. Very excited to show you. I've implemented poly integration and also explain, how we work together as well. I've added localization. We're going to try and add multimodal support by the end of the episode. But yes, so how we split our work is, since Jamie, I've kind of convinced him to be a guest speaker.
I've been morally supportive.
Yes, he's been super supportive during the streams, but he didn't have much time to dedicate to coding off screen. So I kind of did most of the development. But you can definitely help today with the multimodal part. And I will show you how how to manage audio, how to use poly, because I get a lot of questions about how do I use poly, and I wrote some code which I'll be sharing with you on how to generate poly voices, how to cache them in S3 so you don't regenerate them every time it's requested, and just generally just going to be a fun episode full of stuff to show you.
Code heavy too.
Code heavy.
Finally, again, because the previous ones we were talking about, like, you don't just want to jump straight into code or straight into development. We try to figure out the good stuff, the bad stuff, the okay stuff.
Yeah.
And I think, it was quite a story because we were going to develop a game about words and antonyms and other word-related things. But yeah, I think, we'll also go through the memory market game that I believe was suggested by the Chad.
Yes.
This was a really cool experience to be part of, to not only build a game with Andrea, but also to have the community also get involved. And, like that, this wasn't even our idea, the memory market game that we're going to be showing off today. This was from the community. So it's going to be really cool.
All right. So we've given a couple minutes for people to join. Again, for those of you who just joined, we're going to close up, or we're going to look into as many things as possible today, but this is going to be the final episode. And I was talking to Jamie. We are definitely going to try and have more series coming later this year. This was just a quick dedicated series for the Alexa Games Challenge, which, by the way, we should probably talk about because the deadline is approaching in about 7 days. So you have until the 17th of October to publish a skill. If you publish a skill, that's a game. Make sure that you also sign up for the Games Challenge. alexagames.bemyapp.com. Again, let me put up the Linkinator. So alexagames.bemyapp.com. Yes, we should probably mute Alexa. Make sure that you sign up to the challenge. You have until the 17th of October to submit your game. Finalist will win the grand finalist will probably win around 12,000 euros, even more. There's going to be a bunch of prizes for finalists and for different types of skills. Sign up. There's a lot of opportunity to win a lot of cool prizes. Money. Do you like money?
Money's good. Money helps.
Yes.
And even on top of the money, I mean, how amazing is that? You're getting, professionals in the industry, influencers. I think the judges are somewhere on this page. But, of all the skills that have been submitted to this competition, yours, I mean, how amazing is that? The money is good. The money is very good. But also the recognition that your skill was, an amazing voice experience. And what's great is it's not like we only just have 1 or 2 prizes, right? We have like 5. We have like the best skill for multimodal. We have the best adaption from a TV. So there's so much opportunity, as Andreas said. So you'd be very silly not to get involved. And who wants to be silly?
Yes.
No one wants to be silly.
All right, so let's get right into it. We only have 2 hours. I want to make sure that we make the most use of everyone's time. So last time we're going to say this: games challenge, sign up, and submit your skill by the 17th of October. Now, let's kind of recap where we are, because I did a bunch of work offline. So we started off with a custom empty skill last time, and let me show you what I've worked from there.
So what did it even do? I think it just sent a response back saying hello.
It just sent a response back with like an intro text, and if you triggered the answer intent, it would just tell you what slots were being said. Now, over the last week, obviously I didn't have super amount of time to play with it, although I plan on finishing it up after this episode is finished. What I did was structured it a little better. So you see on the left, hopefully you see this. On the left, you see that it's not just an index file, it's actually a properly structured collection of files, and each file kind of has its own responsibilities. So for example, the helpers have helper functions, and I also tried to be fancy and add some JS doc descriptions to each function so that it's easier to use. For example, the supports display will return a Boolean value of whether it supports a display or not. The array will return a random value from an array, etc.
And I just want to, even like taking a step back, I think last week, so we coded directly into the Lambda function, I believe.
Yes.
So I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but so what Andrea is using here is a program called Visual Studio Code. It's free, download it, check it out. And I think we're going to show off some of the more specific features later on. But we're basically, I think it was a few months ago, Amazon released a beta Ask plugin for Visual Studio Code.
You can find it here.
And if you've used Ask CLI before, then you'll know it's pretty useful. You can do a bunch of stuff from command line rather than having to go to the Lambda function directly or the developer console. And now, even better, you don't even have to leave your development environment. In this case, Visual Studio Code. You can deploy your skill, you can test your skill, you can update the script, you can do everything.
You basically have all the functionality of the skill management API exposed, which makes it really, 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 really convenient.
So definitely check it out. On top of that, Andrea's gone ahead and just organized it like you should do, because you don't want everything in your index.js. It'll be too much.
So just to recap, so just to start from scratch, let me explain to you in order everything that was done over the last week. So we had just an index file, and we were editing it directly on AWS Lambda. So if I open my browser, we just had a Lambda console, and we would just be changing the code here, and it would not be the ideal development environment, right?
It works, but
it works, but you have to click update every time.
It's not great, yeah.
Cloud9 is amazing, but when you want to just do some, when you're used to your own editor, it's a completely different thing.
Especially when you're doing code deploy, test, code deploy. Whereas this is like code save, wait for it to save, change tab. Like it's just too much.
So what I want to do is move everything to my VS Code. And the way I did that was using the Ask CLI. So now I can deploy my Lambda directly using the Ask CLI, and it will basically bundle everything together in my Lambda folder. And you see it says updating Lambda function. And it creates a temp folder and it updates it, and now my function is updated. Even
now, like, it still impresses me because it's like I'm so used to just having to open a browser, go to AWS, check the again, it worked, but if you're used to Alexa skill development or just even coding in general, and you just want to do things quick and iterate, like now I feel like you have more time to focus on the experience and making good code and making good responses rather than faffing around with the tools that we have. So definitely check it out. It's so good.
And keep in mind that if you started like we did on the browser, you can always move to the CLI mode, let's put it that way, by just cloning the skill. So you can just do ask clone, and all you need to put in as an input is the skill ID. So you just paste in the skill ID, and it's going to create a directory with all of your skill attributes. So your models, your Lambda function, everything will be downloaded and put into one directory for you to work with. But we already did that last week. And for those of you who were watching last week, unfortunately, when I showed you Ask Deploy on this terminal right here, it said that there was an invalid manifest. That's because my VS Code terminal was using an old version of Node, which was using an old version of the Ask CLI. But I cleaned everything up, and now I'm using the latest versions. So it was just a fault on my end. But once you set everything up, it's just going to work right out of the box. To find out how to set up the CLI, I highly recommend to go to. You have a couple options, but I would go to either alexa.design/CLI or bit.ly/CLI guide.
Does that go to the quick start guide?
Yes.
Or?
Yes. So the CLI takes you to the documentation and how to start. But if you really want a step-by-step guide, I highly recommend this one. All right. So we won't spend too much time talking about the CLI itself, but we will be using it throughout, and you'll get a feel for how it works. So just to recap, for those of you who are joining in and haven't participated in the last two episodes, what our skill does is essentially a memory game. And the way that the storyline behind the game is that the user is auditioning to be, let me just put us in full view. The user is auditioning to be the assistant to the assistant. So the assistant to the voice assistant. And in order to pass this test, they need to remember, they have to have a perfect memory, and Alexa will put them to the test by just adding and removing things from the shopping list, and the user has to remember them. The way that we've structured it is that Alexa will use different aisles of the supermarket, and each aisle represents a different difficulty. And the more complex the game gets, the harder it is to remember things that are being added and removed from the trolley.
And I think so. A big part of the last session was discussing like how do we make the game harder? Do we expect the user to remember more items? Do we expect other stuff? And I think we decided on the concept of distractions or distractors, where the higher level or the later aisle the user's in, the more distractors there are. And what do we mean by a distractor? We mean by Alexa in this case putting an item in the cart and then changing her mind, or dropping an item, or all these things that really the user still has to remember the items in the basket, but also has to almost like mentally deflect the ones that are just kind of trying to mess with their heads. So
exactly. And so the way that the skill is structured is the front end is quite simple actually. So you have one intent called answer intent, and it expects up to 3 items with slot type Amazon.food, which in the meantime I've augmented to have a certain amount of popular vegetables, fruits, and meets.
The ones that Alexa will probably, the ones Alexa wants, I guess.
The ones that at least I will be asking for in my skill, I've also added to the Amazon.food slot type to make sure that they are there and are prioritized. I've also added a don't remember intent, which I haven't really handled yet, which we can see how to do. So basically, I want to handle this separately. So if a user says, "Oh, I don't remember," or "Oh, I give up," I want it to trigger a different intent, just so that we don't get it confused with the actual answers. So don't remember intent will be triggered, and let's just build a model just to make sure that it's rebuilt.
Just a quick question here: if you, and this is from my curiosity, if you build it from the developer console, doesn't that mean like the E tag is out of date? And if you try and build it from the Visual Studio Code, you have to force it?
Because or you can just download. You download the updated model.
Yeah?
No, you just get the updated model, the updated
interaction. What like?
I'll show you.
Ask, get.
So you just do. So if you have the VS Code toolkit, you can do Command Shift P or Control Shift P and do ask, get. No, you get. Let's go more commands. Get. I think it's.
Get an interaction model for a skill. Get the E. Probably the third one.
Is like clone interaction. Get interaction model for
okay. Sorry for the tangent there. It's just
It's all right. And you just go to NGB.
You can even choose the.
Cool. See if it works.
So whilst that builds, we had a question as well. So we had a few questions from Japan. Blah blah blah. Paul provided a link to the US challenge, and then GK is sure. Thanks for doing this. It's very helpful. Would it make sense to use something like Jovo Framework along with Visual Studio, or are they mutually exclusive?
Absolutely not. They're not mutually exclusive. So the cool thing about so the VS Toolkit. Oh wait, actually, let me rephrase that. So if you're using the so VS Code is the editor, and you can definitely use that irrespective of what you're using. If you're using the Ask toolkit for VS Code and you're using the CLI, then yes, because Jovo abstracts all of the coding and makes it adds a level of abstraction with the benefit that you are able to write once and deploy to both Alexa and to Google. However, if you want to access these functions, this is very Alexa specific. So you kind of have to rely on whatever Jovo has implemented. Having said that, they do a great job of adding new features as soon as they come out. They have a lot of cool stuff that they do. For example, I'm actually using one of their Chrome extensions. So if we go to the test section here, build failed, great. You see here that, and I say open memory market.
There's a full stop. Yep.
Memory market.
Welcome back. I will not wait for you to be ready. Assistance should always be ready. We are getting started. Let us start off easy.
And I still haven't added the questions yet, but you see here these little buttons. You can add this as a constant thing that you want to try, and you can press it, and it's going to do it again. Or you can click this to re-trigger this specific utterance. So if we stop it, right, because we want it to be stopped.
Talk to you later.
And we do that. You see how it re-triggers it.
So good.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool.
But yeah. So where were we? We were looking at your code, I think.
Yes.
Or you just.
So you see how this interaction model has been updated. It downloaded the latest interaction model. So you can download it like this and update it. So we could like copy this downloaded and generated interaction model. We would go to models and just replace it, right? And I think we also need to update the E tag. I'm sure there's a faster way to do this, but
so there's a way.
Yeah, to force it.
Yeah.
But then you lose whatever you did on the front end. So you don't want to.
What do you mean you lose whatever?
So if you
have I been losing things? Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, yeah, I guess be careful with force.
Yeah. let's see. So we updated the e-tag and we updated the interaction model. Let's see if it still gives us an issue. So we do ask deploy. Now by doing deploy, we are essentially doing everything. We're deploying the model and we're also deploying the Lambda in one go. Whereas if we use target Lambda, so we add target Lambda, it will just trigger and update the Lambda, which makes it a lot faster because you don't need to wait for the model to deploy. You could also do something like this, which is ask deploy no wait, and no wait does everything, but it doesn't wait to update. The Lambda. It doesn't wait for the interaction model to finish building before updating the Lambda. So it does everything, and the interaction model will finish when it finishes, but it doesn't halt and hold the process from completing, because usually the order is updating the model, building the model, and updating the Lambda. With no wait, it updates the model, builds the model, ignores, the process, so just kicks off the build and automatically and immediately updates your Lambda.
And just a quick point. So Lordy Labs asked, what's the plugin called for the retest buttons? So that was a plugin.
I'll show it. Don't worry.
I'm sharing a link in the chat.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, awesome. So you see here how we're updating our skill. Skill deployment finished. Now it's waiting for the model to finish building, and we have here ask deploy. So we have we were just using ask deploy, so it's waiting for the model to finish, and only once the model has finished building, it will update the Lambda. So while that's going on, I think we can look a little bit at the skill itself. So in the backend, we have the usual handlers, which I have extrapolated and moved to a separate file called handlers, as well as the interceptors. For those of you who don't know what interceptors are pieces of code that can process the input or the output that we're preparing from into Alexa, and process it in a way, every time that an input comes in and every time that an output goes out. So just to give you an example of an interceptor is the localization framework, which I'll also talk about later. So what I've added is a localization library to our skill, so we don't need to hard code our strings, right? In our handlers, you'll realize that we're not hard coding strings unless it's for debugging purposes. But you see here how we're always using this T function, request attributes.t, and it's like first welcome, return welcome, game intro, level 1. Hey, where is all this coming from? Well, it's coming from my language strings. So I've created a language strings object with all of these string keys. And in this case, we're using the English ones, but I could be overriding them with other languages, you see? And based on the incoming request of the user, Alexa or the interceptor would pick the right translation and update it.
So I believe in every request and every JSON request from a skill, there's the locale is passed in, right?
Yes.
And that's all the backend here is doing. It's just taking apart the request, checking it's from France or from Italy or Spanish, and then it responds based on that. So in this case, I think we only have English at the moment, but even if you use this, you've got like a really good foundation for a skill that's ready to be in multiple languages, which means more users, more accessibility, all good.
Yep. So our model has finished. So you saw that took a while because it had to wait for the model to finish building. But if we just did instead ask deploy target Lambda, all we have to do, all it does, it updates, it bundles all of this code together and uploads it. You see how it created a temp file here, ask temp 27059, uploads it and deletes it. And now we're ready to test it. And
something I'm a sucker for, because I'm so used to like using IDEs. I used to use like Visual Studio Code, Visual Studio, Eclipse and stuff like that. Is if you right click the Lambda, I don't know if it works on Mac, but maybe right click the Lambda folder.
Yeah.
And it even has deployed to AWS Lambda. So if you can't be bothered to type out the code,
exactly,
it just feels even more like an IDE. It's so cool.
Exactly. So you can do right click deploy. You can also do
show all the functions.
Like deploy to AWS Lambda, and you just press enter, and it's going to automatically process that. So there's a bunch of stuff that can be done. Any questions so far on the Twitch stream?
Who have we got? We've got no new. So we have someone called B Bezerra. He says, as a shortcut, you can also use ask deploy -t lambda.
Yes.
You can.
Yes. So T is the short option for target, or as Jamie was saying, just get the toolkit for VS Code, and you don't have to remember anything. You can just do deploy, and look, it's right there, ready to do. Enter, done.
So nice.
Oh, you'll also notice that here we have arrays. So you're wondering, hey, so if I reference this return welcome, as you'll see I do in my launch handler, I have a return welcome here. What will happen if in my strings I have an array? Well, the localization interceptor that we're using, which I will show you, automatically, if it detects that the incoming value is an array, right, it will automatically pick a random value, which is very important for adding variety to your skill responses. So you in your backend, you just have to worry about putting in one value. You just reference the string ID, right, like return welcome, and it's up to the language side to have variations of the same meaning, right? A bit like intents, a lot of utterances map to the same intent. Here, you can have a lot of different responses that map to the same string ID, and Alexa will pick one at random, or the Ask SDK will pick one at random using the localization interceptor that's been specifically enhanced to pick random values from arrays. And of course, I'll be sharing all of this code once I make it good enough to share. I'll be sharing all of this code, and the fact skill template has actually been localized in this method, so you can find that updated localization interceptor in the fact skill.
And I really I like that point you just made as well. When you're designing your voice model, of course, you're adding as many sample utterances as you can for each intent. You're really putting yourself in your user's shoes, because every one of your users will most definitely say the same thing differently. It's how speech and communication works. But at the same time, as Andrea just showed with the variation under the return welcome, you don't want Alexa to say the same thing either, like every time you open the skill. It kind of just it really shows, like when you're adding variation, as Andrea said, it kind of brings the skill like just that little bit more to life, and shows that, and it's just more interesting.
Exactly.
It's more engaging.
And it's super easy to show you what I mean. So we have a return welcome and a game intro. So currently our handler, since I'm going to be a returning user, since I've already used it, it's going to show me a return welcome, and then it's going to append a game intro. And if we go to my Lambda and we test it out, right?
And so we have a bunch of viewers now. So definitely, guys, feel free to get involved in the chat, ask us questions.
Sorry, not this one. So if we test out the launch request, you'll see that here it says, it adds the little soundbite, and then it says, "You again, I will not wait for you to be ready. Assistance should always be ready. We are getting started." Now, if I do it again,
a few times.
You again, we're starting immediately. You better be ready. Let us start off easy. You see, it's always the same, but it's always changing.
It's like a new experience every time.
And the cool thing about combinatronics, which I think is a term for when you combine things and they get exponentially bigger.
I've never heard that.
But if you have variations for different fragments of the string, and Alexa and the interceptor picks them at random, by concatenating different fragments that all have variations, the possibilities will always be...
It's like a limit,
Yeah, it's going to be a multiplication of multiplication of multiplication. So,
the more variation, the more...
Yes.
It's like the Alexa skill will never ever... They'll never say the same thing twice. So it's always going to be a brand new conversation.
Yes. And the way that we actually use it in the handler is we get these request attributes, similarly to how we get the session attributes, we get the request attributes. And the reason we're getting the request attributes is because our interceptor is actually binding the i18next localization library and function to the request attributes. So you see how we're getting the request attributes, and we're binding a T function, or we're assigning a function called, that we are calling T, that actually has the i18next localize functionality in it. And you'll realize that here, if you have an eagle eye, we're actually using a second library, which is the sprintf post processor, and that allows us to do something even cooler. So you'll see here that we have a %s, right? Score update, you have %s points. The way that we use this, and this is also automatically handled by the localization library, you just pass in after the string ID, as an additional argument, you pass in what parameter you want to be substituted instead of this string placeholder. So we just go here, and you'll see that I'm using it in the answer intent handler. So now we're in the answer intent handler. And you'll see that here where I'm giving the score update, I'm passing in the score as a parameter, right? Cool. So what else?
So that's yeah. So we've been focusing on like language and how to sort that. I want to take a look at how the game code works. Talk me through that.
Yeah. Before we get to that, before we get to that,
actually, should we test it first or soon? Or?
Hold on, I'm going to go in order. So, the other thing that we talked about last time was to have random announcements that would confuse people and make it harder. So I've written out a bunch of random announcements like attention, this is an announcement, please continue shopping, or attention, spillage on aisle 2, because that was something that people were asking for on the Twitch stream last week. So legislation, please, someone with get someone with a mop there as soon as possible. Something is leaking profusely, etc., etc. And I would love for these announcements to be preceded by a sound effect and to be said and uttered in a voice that's different from Alexa, right? Because Alexa is kind of with you in the store, but the store itself is not managed, is not Alexa. So I want a different speaker to read out these announcements. And in order to do that, I'm going to use Polly. So Polly is a pure text-to-speech engine by AWS, right? So if we go to another instance of the AWS console, I will show you Polly.
And when you're in a shopping mall, you don't have one person working there. You have so many people who have access to the microphone. So being able to hear different voices is like really brings it to life. Really yeah.
So the web version of Alexa Polly, of Amazon Polly, allows you to listen and to manually download the MP3. So you can do something like this, where.
Hi, my name is Joanna. I will read any text you type here.
Or we'll go for the English. Where's the English British? And we'll use Amy.
Hi, my name is Amy. I will read any text you type here.
Or Brian.
Hi, my name is Brian. I will read any text you type here.
Right? But it's a bit of a hassle to download the MP3 and do this every single time. So what I was busy implementing, since I get a lot of questions at all the workshops and all the meetups that I go to, is how do I use Polly? How do I use Polly? So I wrote a little helper module that exposes a text-to-speech function. And all you need to do is give what voice you want to use to be read out loud and what text. And what it will do, it will generate the voice. It will upload it to S3, to the bucket that you want. If it already exists, it won't regenerate it, so it caches it by default. It takes a hash of the text and the voice ID, which is the speaker, and we'll make a hash of it, and we'll save that utterance in the S3 bucket. That way, if multiple people are hitting the same text, Alexa will, or your skill will just fish out the existing MP3 without needing to regenerate it, because obviously Polly, has to regenerate the voice every time you use it. But with this hashing, at least it's saved. So it outputs an audio file like this, for example. And that way we can easily generate random Polly voices with random speakers if we want to, cache them, and have them automatically be auto-generated again if we change the text here. So any change that we give that we make to the text will trigger a regeneration because the hash will be different. How that works is quite simple. So I have a text-to-speech function.
Is there an API for Polly that you're just plugging into?
So I'm just using. So every Lambda function has an implicit. So has the node module AWS SDK in it. So I'm creating a new instance of Polly. And first I'm checking if the file already exists in my S3 bucket. And if it doesn't, then I just create here, I use a Polly synthesized speech with these parameters. And then I return that buffer of audio. which will be saved to S3 with the desired file name.
Very efficient, I must say.
Yes.
Especially the fact that it reuses the audio if it's already been generated.
Yeah, so it head objects S3 when you give it a file name to check whether it already exists. If it does already exist, it doesn't do anything. It will just return the URL so it can be reused instantly. If it doesn't exist, so you see how we're calling the is audio already generated function. If it doesn't exist, then we will kick off the generate poly audio and write audio stream to S3.
Wait, so you put it into const audio, and then you what do you do with const audio? What do you do next with that? Oh, I see, audio to audio stream. My bad. Okay, cool. And yeah, so then you kick that off. Cool.
And then I just wrap it in the audio tags so that it can be streamed automatically.
So Andrea, you clearly put like a lot of time into this. So you're opening this as well for everyone to check out?
Oh yeah, for sure. I just want to polish it up and then,
100%.
and then release it as a node module.
You should definitely use something like this because
it just makes your life easier rather than have to do things manually.
Makes your life easier, makes your skill more interesting,
Yeah, so you were asking me about, I'm just trying to think if I have other things, apart from some helper functions, which are pretty standard and you find them
just
in the cookbook.
Okay.
I created a little SSML helper function. So you'll see I also created a little tiny JS doc thing. But what for the most frequent SSML use cases that I personally use, I wrote a helper that I can just give in what type of SSML to create, so what SSML tag to create, what value of the argument to set to, right? So, for example, say has an interpret as argument, and I set the value, and then what content to wrap around, and it will choose the right SSML tag. It'll prefix the right argument and wrap the content around and return to me the SSML string, which makes it a lot easier. So for example, here with the audio source, I can just do basically SSML, open parentheses, audio, and the argument, and the content is just ignored because it just needs the URL.
So it looks like when you do open this up, there'll be a lot of helpful functions people can just grab and plug into their code.
Yeah, and I'll be definitely contributing these to the Alexa Cookbook, which is a repository of code that we like to. But this skill is also a training ground for me to try out new things. It's always useful to do things and go deep into the development to figure out what things the community needs, what things can be made easier, what helper functions can help. Like for example, the poly, thing. I got a lot of questions for it, so I this weekend I just jumped in and figured out how to do it, and now I'm going to be contributing this back to the whole community.
Cool.
So back to the game. I have to admit, so I also have some sounds. So I have an announcement sound. I have a success sound, a failure, and an intro.
And these are our sounds, right? From the
yes,
sound bank?
These are from the sound bank. So I also wanted to talk about that. So if you want to add sounds to your skill, the long way to do it is to download the audio, make sure you have the license, and so the licensing rights and the rights to use it. You have to convert it to a specific format. Let me open up the right tabs to show you. You have to convert it to the right format, which needs to be at a certain bit rate, at a certain...
It's like 48,000 or 16,000. It's just a bit messy. And yeah, I think some people use Audacity. I think they plug it in there. It's effort. It's a lot of effort to.
Yeah, it's just a bit of a pain if you just want to add a little sound. You have to upload it to S3. But you'll notice that in the documentation there's this sound bank URL that looks really weird. It's like, why is there a sound bank URL?
Is that in my directory? Or?
So this is because we created the Alexa SkillsKit sound library, and the SkillsKit sound library is a special repo of sounds that have been pre-licensed, pre-encoded, ready for use by any skill developer. So Alexa SkillsKit sound library, and you see here there's a collection of different sounds from different categories, and adding them is super easy. So for example, if we go to game show sounds, right?
You just get the URL for it, I believe.
Yeah, it even has.
And you even get a demo as well.
Yeah, it even has. You have the demo.
Lovely.
Or you have like a intro. In my case, as an intro, since I want the game to be a little bit neutral and cold, I'm using a neutral response 01 as an intro, which I will show you.
Shy around.
It's this one.
Oh god. Oh.
So it's like super nice. And then for the supermarket announcements, since there is no supermarket sounds here, what I'm using is home, and I found a doorbell that sounds a little bit like the supermarket announcements, like dun dun, and I think it's doorbell 1.
Oh, that's literally like I'm in Tesco's or something.
Yeah, exactly. Attention, attention, spillage on aisle 2. Please come to mop the floor, blah, 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 blah. Right? So I'm using the doorbell as the announcement sound, which you see here. I've labeled announcement. So whenever I need that sound, I can just reference it by using sounds.announcement, and I'll wrap it in my SSML tag. So the way that I want to use it is basically like when I use my my SSML function, I just do SSML. Oops, one S too many. SSML.
You'll get there.
Yeah, SSML. Okay.
Oh, not today.
Not today. But where I'm using it, I think it's in the handler. So I'll just do like SSML.
Love those S's.
And then you see how since I created the JS doc, it has
like
a description. Actually, it should have. Let's go here. This is also important for people if they're interested. Helps create SSML by specifying parameters. And if we go here, the SSML IntelliSense, as you were saying, helps create SSML tags by specifying parameters, right? And we'll do type, which will be audio, right? Because we want to create an audio tag. And all we need to do here is put sounds dot announcement.
Oh, it even comes up.
Yeah, it comes up because
so good.
I have included it at the top of the file. I've required the sounds object from my game.
I need to do this.
So everything is nice and tied in. I mean, it is a bit of a pain to have a lot of different files, but once you structure them so that every file has its own domain and own context, it becomes a lot easier to work with them, because you don't need to worry, oh wait, what was this supposed to do? No, like boom, this will return to me. See, look, I hover over it and it gives me the definition, what parameters I need, everything.
That's really useful, and something I wanted to call out as well. We were speaking about Jovo before. They've got the really useful simulator extension. So this is all using the built-in audio, which again, there's a big selection there. So go at it and see if there's something there for you to use. If you do want to use something of your own, again, you might have a bit of an awkward time converting. Maybe Audacity, maybe this, maybe that. But Jovo actually also have a tool. Maybe we can check it out real quick. If you go on Google and search for, just search Jovo Audio, in fact. And I think it's the first one. They have actually made an audio file converter where you can just upload your MP3 or your WAV or whatever, and it does its thing. It makes it the.
It also hosts it for you.
Yeah, only for like 24 hours. But
okay.
So as Pre-Tech Ray said, it converts it to 16,000. Does 48 kbps.
Cool.
And just really easy.
But if you didn't want to use Jovo, which why shouldn't
you?
I just want to show you that it's not impossible to just do
it
yourself.
It's not.
It is a minor inconvenience, but it really is just one command. So I think it's worth showing.
Go for it.
So you the SSML reference has all the information that you need. So you can just you have two options. My recommended option is just to use ffmpeg. Just copy this command, put in the input file name and the output file name that you want, and it's going to work. Okay, all you need to do is make sure that your system has ffmpeg, and it's one line command line interface. And you can also specify a batch of files, like in typical Unix fashion, you can just do star.mp3, and all the MP3s that will be in a specific folder will be auto converted for you. So it's even faster than uploading them to an external service. Or you can do it manually with Audacity. Just open the file and save as with these settings. But really, it's not that hard. The only thing that you need to make sure is that once you've converted them, you host them on an HTTPS endpoint that is publicly accessible. So by default, S3 is not publicly accessible, so you need to make the files public once you've added them.
And there's a big button, so it just says make public.
Make public.
Click it,
yeah.
and it's done.
Just click it, make sure that it's the bucket that you do want to make public and that the files that you're sure you want to make public. Obviously, don't share the link around, otherwise people will be able to link to that audio file and use it themselves.
And then you'll get hit with
and
charges, maybe. Who knows,
but don't. This is how you would do it normally. I've done it for several skills, and it's really. I've also done it live at one workshop. We created a guess the animal sound quiz, and it worked. It was instant. So it really is just a plug and play of this command. Just change the input file name here, because I stands for input, and then change the output file name here to whatever you want, and it's going to work. All right.
So back to the code.
Back to the code. So what I want to show you, or what I want to do with you today, since I didn't want it to just be a show and tell episode, right? That's not like real Twitch live coding, right? We're actually building the game. I wanted to build the game with you. So I did the hard work of kind of setting up the environment. So we have the language strings, we have the localization, we have the poly if we need it. We have a bunch of helper functions. But together, I want to actually build the logic, or at least part of it. So the way I've structured it is that there is a launch request, and the launch request will set the necessary attributes. So it'll set that the level is 1 and that the current question index is 1, making sure that this is the first question. And the reason I'm starting with 1 and not 0 is because I want to determine how many questions. Well, why was that? I don't know. There was a reasoning in my head. I think it was before I used the level. I wanted to use the modulus of 3 to check in what level we were.
I mean, even from a basement perspective, you're never on level 0. You're on level 1. Like, it's not 1 is...
Yeah. So, I mean, true programmers start from 0.
I know.
But we will start from 1. Also, so that we can also check if there is an index or there is a level. And 0 in JavaScript always returns false if you don't do a strict equals, so 3 equals. So let's just keep things simple and just start from 1. So what we need to do is formulate the question, right? Just to show you what game logic I've already implemented. What I've done is I'm setting a standard trolley. The trolley is, let's say, the game state of what the answers should be, right? This will be updated by the questions that we will generate. And in this case, it's carrots, broccoli, and cabbage. What happens next is we get the slot values using a helper function that is provided with the code generator, which is it receives the slots object and returns an object containing for each slot a heard as, resolved, and ER status. We covered this last time. But I created a second helper function that takes these slot values and gives us just an array of raw values so that we can compare the two arrays. We can compare the trolley array with the slot array. And we do this by using a calculate score. This calculate score calculates the score of the incoming answer. So what it does, it will show you here in the game.js what it does. Actually, I've changed this. So now it's an array, and now it's an answer array. Sorry, I changed this before. The answer array generated from get slot value array. I just want to make sure that my code is documented as I go. So we have here a calculate score method, and what it does is it takes in the answer array, so basically the 3 values that it heard. And if it doesn't hear any values, the array will be empty. If it only hears 1, there will only be 1 value in the array. And the reference trolley, so this is the actual source of truth of what it should be, and the multiplier. The multiplier will determine what the score will be, and the harder the level, the higher multiplier we will give, right? So if you get it right, then the multiplier will increase the score. What it does, it cycles through the answer array and checks if any of them are in trolley. Basically, that's it. So I can show you actually how it works. So as I said, the reference trolley, just for testing purposes, is carrots, broccoli, and cabbage.
But we will randomize those.
We will randomize those, of course.
Yeah.
But just to show you.
Just for the coding, yeah.
Yes.
Can we test it with this?
Let's just deploy quickly because I want to make sure that code is updated.
Can we test with the device, or should we use the...
We can test with the device.
Because I know we haven't used it yet, so maybe that'll be interesting.
Yes, I just want to make sure that what the handler is responding back is correct. Because now I heard the following slot values. Yes, okay. This only returns the score, so we might have to change it so that it also returns the values that were part of the array, but we'll change that later. So what it does now, as you see, this is hard-coded because it won't really be there in the final version. I just want to hear back what I've said. Whereas the score update will be part of the language strings, which, as you see here, the score update is you have percentage S points. Yeah. And what I'm doing is I'm passing in the score that has been calculated using the calculate score method. All right. So I know it's a lot of how do you call it?
Code.
Yeah, it's a lot of abstraction, but hopefully not too much, and
but
people
long
can
term,
still follow that.
But long term, that's best.
Yes, because
if you just start,
we always we always show people, or I usually show people in workshops how to get a basic skill going, and I thought this would be a good change of pace to actually show them how you would properly build a skill that you want to grow, that you want it to flourish, that you want to keep adding to. You can't just have a massive index.js file. You want to have things structured in an elegant and tidy way so that it's easier to maintain and all that and all that jazz.
I think that is what it's all about, maintenance. Because if you do have this huge index file with thousands of lines, it's gonna work. But just trying to update that thing, it's just like too messy. Whereas what Andrea's done here with all the the organization, it's just so much easier to update and maintain.
Oh, important thing. Sorry, I know that everyone's dying to get into the game, but I just want to make sure that all the preparatory stuff has been explained. One last thing is to use Poly, to use DynamoDB, to use anything, you need to have the right permissions. And in this case, this is my function. And when we created it from scratch, or by using the serverless application repository, right, we only by default have access to the CloudWatch logs. So the CloudWatch logs. However, I've added access to S3, Poly, and DynamoDB. You need to do that if you want the skill to work, because we need access to DynamoDB in order to save the session attributes and the persistent attributes. We need access to Poly in order to generate Poly voices, and we need access to S3 to save those Poly voices. So your Lambda function needs to have permissions to do anything outside of itself. And the way you do this is really, really simple, super simple. All you need to do is go to IAM, Identity and Access Management, also a pun for IAM, right?
Hey, this guy.
And
got a comedian over it.
Yeah. And what you want to do with IAM.
So did you set up like a new role or a new policy specific for?
Yeah, I added the policy. So our Lambda function, you'll see, has a role associated with it, and this role is called
this one
GZ41K. Ends in GZ41K because it was automatically generated by the serverless application repository when we created the Lambda function. So GZ41K is our role. We're always welcome to change it with a custom-made one, but I just added on to that one. And if we go to Identity and Access Management and I go to Roles, I can search for GZ41K, and you'll see it finds it. And by default, it will have Lambda Basic Execution Role, right? This is the default one that every Lambda created by the serverless application repository of the Alexa Skills Kit will have. However, you'll see I've added these custom ones that I've created, that I've named Dynamo Create Edit Table, Poly Access, etc. And these were created using an inline edit policy. So let's say we wanted to add access to something else. Let's say we wanted to add access to another service. Let's see. We wanted to add access for a Lambda to, for some reason, let's see.
SES.
SES. Where do you see it? So,
down.
SES, right. You see, you just choose the service, and then here are all the permissions associated with SES. So, for example, in the case of S3, it's get object, put object, head object, which just checks whether it exists, and you can just mix and match whatever you want this Lambda function to be able to do, right? And you choose where it has access for, right? So we so in this case, SES does not allow you to choose specific resources, but if we go back to the S3 permission, I can show you exactly how it works. So we go here, and we go to Edit Policy, and you'll see it takes us back to the same visual editor. And if you don't like the visual editor, you can always go back to the
just JSON,
to the JSON. But the visual editor is useful if you're not used to like the whole S3 environment. The IAM schema for specifying what permissions to add, and you can just change exactly what the function has access to. So I've only given it exactly the permissions it needs to do what it needs to do and nothing else, right? So it can only has access to get object, nothing else. It only has access to list bucket and nothing else in the list section, and it only has access to put object right here and nothing else. That way you're kind of limiting the damage that this Lambda can do if it were to go rogue for some reason, right? So it's always a best practice with, and then I'll let you add, but it's always a best practice with Lambda functions, with anything in AWS, to make sure that it only has the minimum permissions required to do what it needs to do and nothing else. Don't leave trailing extra permissions, because that's when you open up security holes.
Issues, yeah. I was just going to say, it reminds me of the first Spider-Man movie. With great power comes great responsibility. Because if you just add it, I know sometimes it's easiest just to get like super user access or just add everything.
Yeah.
And maybe for the short term, okay, maybe, but I saw one of the policies there. One of the permissions was like delete bucket, and you don't need stuff like that lying around, because what if you accidentally it's not worth your time all day.
Like, why would your Lambda function
ever need to delete a bucket?
Or manage tables that are not even related to itself.
So we had a question as well. Lori, can the permissions on the audio clips on S3 be locked down like this to avoid the problem you mentioned earlier if URL becomes public?
No. So,
I think they're by default public, right?
No. So default. So I think the question is, can you sort of tie it down so only a specific, IP address can access this file? I think you can. I have to check. I haven't tried to do this, but I think you can, in the permissions of S3, determine exactly, who has access, what type of host can access specific files, so that if the URL does become public, only trusted hosts, for example, only Alexa, is allowed to access your files and not random users on the internet.
He said only the skill.
Yeah, exactly. Only your skill. Actually, your skill is not really accessing them. Your skill is just passing on the URL, and Alexa is pulling from S3 and streaming that. So your skill itself is not downloading the file. It's just putting it and then passing on the URL to as part of an SSML audio response that just requires a URL, and then it's the Alexa that will actually stream the audio file. So let's try the game as it is now. Keep in mind we will use the real device, but I first want to show you. Let's just stop everything, make sure that the session is closed.
Talk to you later.
Okay, so we do open memory market. And let's just go in order. So when I do open memory market, right? Let's do it, and then we'll see what's happening behind the scenes. So I do open memory market. There's an audio.
Welcome back. We are starting immediately. You better be ready. Let us start off easy.
And that's where we would also add a question, right? However, let's inspect what's happening so far. You see here that the request is a launch request.
It's also new if you scroll to the top.
Yes,
so we haven't done
it's a new session, and the launch request is of type launch request. Also, return user, true. How did we know? We'll see. The current question index is 1, and the current level is 1. And trolley has carrots, broccoli, and cabbage in it. So how did we populate these session attributes and
How can we tell the user's not a new user?
Exactly. So let's go back to the code and show you exactly what's happening. So right now we are in the launch request handler, and you'll see that it will be used. This can handle method determines whether this handler can be used, and it will be used if it is a type of launch request. Now, how did we do all that behind the scenes? So first of all, we requested the session attributes. So by using this handler input, which is an argument of the handle function, attributes manager.get session attributes, you are requesting any already set session attributes. Then you are free to add whatever you want to this object. It's just an open object, and you can add whatever you want. So for example, here I'm setting, so if it's not a return user, I give a first welcome and then I set it to true. Otherwise, if it already is a return user, then I give a return welcome, which is what was happening in our case. And you see this first welcome and return welcome are being sourced from the language strings.
Mm-hmm. But what I also like is right after you do the first welcome, straight away you just set that return user to true, and then that user will never hear the first welcome text again. Because right away you're saying, hit welcome, you're no longer new.
Exactly. So the language strings have a first welcome, which will have a nice long welcome. Welcome to the Alexa Assistant Training Program. All prospective assistants to the voice assistant are put through this mandatory memory training program. Although a perfect score will not guarantee your placement, a less than perfect score will result in failure, etc., etc., etc. And then I have a return welcome, which is much shorter. Welcome back, you again, right? And based on whether it's a first user, it's much shorter. People don't want to hear this every time they want to play the game.
No way.
Get right into it.
If you're like showing your friend your skill, and you're like, oh yeah, like check this out, and then they just hear like
exactly,
you want to get straight to the good stuff.
Yes. So, and also if you mess up and you want to try it again, right? You don't want to hear, you don't want to listen to all of this.
You can always recycle the first welcome for your help intent as well, because that covers some of the, you can cover some of the rules, some of the, but that's later.
And so in our handlers, in this launch request, let's just finish going through it. We also add a game intro, which is a common text that will be added regardless of whether the user is new or a return user. And we get this from the game intro, right? You see I have two versions. I will not wait for you to be ready. Assistants should always be ready. We're getting started. Or we are starting immediately. You better be ready.
Yeah, she just said that, I believe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She just says that this. And you see that by combining the two, we have 4 possible combinations.
Yeah.
We have this plus this plus that. Sorry, I'm pointing it with my finger. Sorry. We have welcome back plus I will not wait. You again plus I will not wait. We have you again plus we are starting immediately, and welcome back, we are starting immediately.
And one more thing I want to add is in terms of like concatenating and adding things to each other, you'll notice that at the end of each sentence there is a space, which means when you then do add something after it, it won't connect the words. Like there's always going to be proper sentences.
I mean, I know that for people who are a little OCD like me, seeing that extra space at the strings will really bother them. And now that you've made them notice, they're going to be bothered even more.
They're going to be like, delete all the white spaces.
But I added it so I don't need to worry about it in the code. I don't need to, add spaces.
Yeah.
It's up to you how you want to design it. If you want to add spaces in your code logic,
or do like plus and then speech. You don't need to.
Anyways,
depends how crazy you are.
Yes. So I've just decided to add them to the language strings. That way they don't come all jammed together. Usually though, if there's punctuation, it's fine. So let's go back to the handler and continue through. So basically the say, which is basically the string what we want to say back, contains an SSML audio beep, which is sounds.intro, right? Which is the one that we've chosen, which I made you hear earlier, which is like ding.
Straight to it.
It either gives a first or return welcome. It transitions through the via the game intro into the question, which we still haven't asked, right? We're still not asking it. And then it sets the necessary things, like for example, the current question index is 1 and the level is 1, right? And then I set the session attributes.
Now that's all saved. Like as long as the session is open, and you're hitting other intents and you're doing whatever, those session attributes are going to be available for you to do whatever you want with, to check their score, to check the level, and it's just
And you'll realize though that in our request, and this is a little bit of a finesse part, in our request there's also this carrots, broccoli, cabbage that we haven't set in the launch request, and this is because this is part of if we go back to AWS and we go to DynamoDB, since I'm a return user, it's actually been stored in the database and being populated automatically. So if we go to the tables, which there should be a table called memory market right here. By the way, this was created automatically by the SDK, and I'll show you later how. You'll see that there's an item for my account, and there's attributes, including a trolley list. So all of these are pre-populated for us and saved for us. So if a user comes back, all of these are already there. If we change things, or if we delete, and let's try this. Let's delete this item.
So just to clarify this, you're saving all of our attributes to DynamoDB by default?
Yes, through the interceptor.
So
through the interceptor.
Like every request or response, or when the user says stop or quits the skill?
Like when you say stop.
Oh, cool.
So I think it's if it's an end of the session. So if it's should end session, or if it's a session ended request, then it will trigger the set persistent attributes.
Got it.
Right. So this is the interceptor that we are registering. So if we go to the index.js file, you'll see here that we are registering the interceptors here, and there's the response persistence interceptor, and the request persistent interceptor populates the session attributes as the request comes in.
And that's good, because if you're on like level 2 and you don't want to lose your progress and you have to go and do something else, you can come back and continue where you were.
Yeah. You see, so basically the request interceptor runs every time the request is incoming, and the response interceptor runs every time a response is being prepared. And you'll see here that the request persistence interceptor only populates the session attributes if the session is new, which is something that you were calling out earlier. Right.
And I actually did want to clarify there. In terms, so we now have 2 new variables, right? So the first one in the request, that is for specifically the session. Like, are we new to the session? Because it's important to know whether it's been first invoked or it's like a follow-up utterance. Whereas our return user variable, that's something that we've made and we've put in the session attributes that we defined before, and we're saying, are you new? Is this the first time you're using the skill ever? Rather than that day or that session. So I realized before.
Yeah. This session new will be new if you say launch or open.
Exactly.
So it'll only be true at the start of a session, whereas this is something that we've set and will persist for however long we want.
Exactly.
So now that we've deleted it, though, right? We've deleted everything. So if we start the skill, maybe using the real Alexa, it should give us the long welcome. Alexa, open memory market.
Hello, welcome to the Alexa Assistant Training Program. All prospective assistants to the voice assistant are put through this mandatory memory training program. Although a perfect score will not guarantee your placement, a less than perfect score will result in failure. You are, however, free to attempt this training program as often as you would like. I will not wait for you to be ready. Assistants should always be ready. We are getting started.
And that's
Let us start off
where
easy.
we would. Now it's asking, so quit. So it's
I heard the following values. I
Alexa,
was asking, sir.
Quit. So we still have to ask the question. But so this is to show you that now, if we go to our DynamoDB and we refresh it, boom, it's back again. You see, back again, and everything has been set.
Yeah, that's so good.
Yes.
And I we should clarify. So this is specific per user based on their user ID, or is this something that's shared by everyone?
This is specific to. So the way that Alexa will manage this table is create a field,
like an entry, I guess.
Create an item. Sorry. For each user ID, and anything you put in this session attributes will be written in this attributes object. So you can put whatever you want. In this case, we have current question index, level, return user, and trolley. But really, you could have anything you want.
And this might even be a tricky question, because I forget off the top of my head. But if a user disables your skill and then enables your skill again, the user ID is still the same, right?
No, it's different.
Okay, fine. So again, worth keeping that in mind.
It's different, yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, let's just start from scratch, and let's stop the session.
Okay, talk to you later.
And delete the file. Oops, not cancel. But delete. Now we can just do open memory market. And I could just click that actually, but I'm just not used to that. Cool. So you see how there's no trolley now.
Welcome to the...
There's no trolley now because that was a legacy thing that was written to the attributes after you start the answer intent. But now that it's a brand new user, it doesn't have the trolley. It only has those 3 attributes, which are the 3 attributes that we have written in our handler, which is here. So we've written is return user true. We've written that the current question index is 1 and that the level is 1. So really, this is how we manage state as well. We manage what the level is. We manage what the current question is. We can write whatever we want in the session attributes and use that and read and write to it and from it. Now, let's actually look at the answer intent. So you'll see that once you hit the answer intent the first time, it adds a trolley object to the session attributes. And in this case, it's going to be carrots, broccoli, and cabbage. And I know it's hard-coded, but this is just for debugging purposes. I'd rather use this time to show people how things work so that they know how to implement it themselves rather than focus too much on my own logic. But session attributes.trolley is something that we're writing, which will be our game state, our actual answer, right? Like what the right answer should be. So carrots, broccoli, cabbage. Can you remember that? Nope. Carrots, broccoli, cabbage?
Yeah, I'll try.
And now when a user tries to answer, so it'll trigger the answer intent handler. And we can make this a little bit more seamless by asking what is in my trolley. So we can do this, and I think I have a language string for that, which is question finisher, which is what is left in the cart. So let me just do that real quick. So we can do request attributes dot t. Hold on, question finisher, and basically we're appending one of these 4 strings, so at least we can kind of test it on our own since we know what should be in the card already. Now this won't be part of the real game because there's actually going to be a question in here. There will be a question, and
which
then
we
will finish.
Yes,
which will be included between the game intro and the question finisher. The question finisher will always say, "So what is in the card? So have you remembered everything?"
Yeah.
Now we can just deploy, and what I want to do is actually try to show you how it works when you say the right things or the wrong things. So now that we're on level 1, we should have that carrots. If we say carrots, broccoli, and cabbage, all 3, it should give us a score of 15. And the reason why it should give us a score of 15 is because our game checks how many matches there are between the answer array, which is what we're saying, and the trolley, which is what the game state is, and applying a multiplier, which is the level currently, which for us is 1. So it should, for every correct answer, we should give 5 points. So the way that we try that is by opening the skill, trying it out, and saying carrots, broccoli, cabbage. Okay? Let's try that. Alexa, open memory market.
Hello, welcome to the Alexa Assistant Training Program. Prospective assistance to the voice assistant are put through this mandatory memory
carrots, broccoli, cabbage.
I heard the following values. Carrots, broccoli, cabbage. You have 15 points.
Hey.
You see? Quit.
So
I
if
heard the following values.
Alexa,
I said.
Quit.
So if I said carrots, broccoli, and cucumber, I would have got 10 points.
If you say, yes, let's try that out as well. So you can just say, say, Alexa, tell memory market.
So I say, okay. So Alexa.
Okay.
It is,
now it's updated.
Alexa, open memory market and cabbage, lettuce, and cucumber.
I heard the following values. Cabbage, lettuce, cucumber. You have 5 points.
Hey. Wait, is that right?
You said.
What did I say?
I think she's right because you said.
I actually can't remember what we hard coded.
See, you really need to play this game.
I've completely forgotten this game.
Where is the trolley? Okay, carrots.
Broccoli. What? Why did I say lettuce?
Okay, now try again.
So I'll do carrots, broccoli. So I'll go for 10 points now.
Yeah. So carrots and broccoli and celery.
Alexa, open memory market and carrots, broccoli, and celery.
I heard the following values. carrots, broccoli, celery. You have 10 points.
Hey.
It's working.
Again, I'm better
Right?
than before.
I think it kind of makes sense to just say like tell memory market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Anyways, rather than open and, but
Gets the job done.
this is just again, this is just debugging, right? So
Yeah.
we're basically shortcutting to the answer intent so that we don't need to listen to the intro every time.
That was a one-shot invocation.
And this is just to check that our scoring is working correctly.
Also, Lordy Lab said, does original DynamoDB record ever get deleted if a skill is disabled and re-enabled?
No. So
That's just
anything,
like a separate thing.
anything that happens in your AWS account, you have complete control over. No one is going to access your AWS account and change things. The only thing that gets locked down when you publish something is the interaction model. So on the developer console, right? So anything on the developer console here gets locked down when you publish, and you can't change it without resubmitting for certification. Anything that you do in your backend, anything in AWS, is completely up to you. You can change it even while the skill is live. I wouldn't recommend it because that means that
it could break.
It could break, and users that are using it could start hitting your failed skill. But you have complete control to fix bugs, to correct typos. For example, one typo I heard is in the welcome message.
Even after the answers.
So a less than perfect score. So you see how for some reason some of the auto indents, it was supposed to be less than perfect score.
And another one I heard is after she says the score, she says the next sentence very quickly.
Yes.
So maybe we might be concatenating.
Exactly. So the score here you have so we need to do and it should be also be in the handlers. We should add a
No, so you wanted to clarify as well. He said, I meant if re-enabling creates a new record, does the old data build up eventually?
Yes.
Build up eventually.
So like all the records will remain because you have no way of knowing whether the user is a new generated user but that has an old record,
but they're separate now. Like if I use the skill,
it'll be exactly like as if a new user starts using your skill and the old user stops using your skill. You have no way of knowing whether it's like you can use I think there's some lifecycle hooks that tell you if it's been enabled, if it's been disabled, etc. But you don't know that the two customer IDs are coming from the same user.
Yeah, so you need to do further validation, but at its base, if I use the skill, got an amazing high score, disable the skill, enable the skill, I wouldn't have access to that old stuff anymore.
No, because it would
a different
to you
item.
As a developer. Down the road, it will look like that user stopped using your skill.
Yeah.
But you will have gained a new user if that user re-enabled it, right? So it's up to you how you manage that lifecycle of data. DynamoDB allows you to set what's it called? I think it's called when you create the table, I think you can set, or is it called? You basically set an auto clean policy. So every X amount of time, it just purges. It purges things that are not used. Yeah.
And there's also you can do account linking if you want to find out more about the users. You can there's so many ways to sort of get around this issue. So I wouldn't really worry too much.
Yes. I think it's called time to live attribute. I'm sure there's a lot of better. No, that's not time to live. Anyway, when you create the table, you were able to choose this. Especially useful for logging. So if you're using logs, you don't want to store everything on DynamoDB. You want to migrate like old logs to S3 and not have, not build up Dynamo data because that's more expensive than S3 data. S3 is made for just storing a bunch of stuff and not frequently accessing it. Dynamo is made for quick read and access. So you don't want to store like gigabytes and gigabytes of logs on Dynamo, which doesn't make sense. But you might want to store recent logs in Dynamo and then migrate them S3. And Dynamo has built-in functionality to do this. So you just decide when that cutoff is. So is it 30 days, 60 days, 120 days? And then that will automatically be published to S3.
Cool. So let's ask a question or try and generate one of those questions with some of the...
Yes.
Because right now, we just say the values, but let's actually
so we
let's just
recap. So we looked at state, we looked at session attributes, we looked at persistence, we looked at permissions, we looked at poly. Oh no, we haven't looked at poly. I just showed you how to do it, but why don't we actually show you how to use poly by having Alexa
go for it.
Generate the response instead. So let me show you how you would implement poly, and then we'll look at the question. And then we'll look at the question. I just want to show people how to use poly as well. So rather than just pipe in the normal say, how about we pipe in a poly generated say? So we say let polyfied say equals text to speech. I don't think I've included it here.
Did you? Yeah.
I have to include it. Hold on. Const text to speech is equal to require. I have to get it in my poly.js. Okay. So now there's going to be a function. You see how the IntelliSense picks it up. And now we just choose, if we don't specify a voice ID, then it will, so you see, we need to provide an object containing voice ID and text to render. So we need to put in a voice ID and
so is that one of the names or
text? In our case, text will be say, which is the variable that we've been concatenating up until here. Whereas the voice, yes, which by default is Kimberly, but we can choose it to be. I think let's try Amy. Let's see if it works.
All right.
Let's try Amy. And since this is a operation that is a bit asynchronous, let's just make sure that we async it so that we can use await and just await the speech to text, the text to speech. Sorry, and I'll show you how the whole pipeline goes. And here we'll just respond back with polyfied say. If it doesn't work, we'll figure it out. Now we'll debug. Sorry, we'll deploy.
Yeah, and that's really important what Andrea just said about the whole await async thing, because your skill in terms of asynchronous activity, your skill could always send back the response before we get the polyfied response back, and then I don't know, even though I guess that at that point the variable would still be empty.
Yes,
so
it will be empty. It'll just give it an error. So you always need to make sure that you're going synchronously as possible. Like
exactly.
Don't return a response builder or speak and get response until
you've
polyfied say or wherever is ready. So let's try it. Hopefully it should work out of the box. Fingers crossed. Alexa, tell memory market cabbage and potatoes.
Sorry, I don't know that one.
Alexa,
just
open memory market and cabbage and potatoes.
Wait, can we just invoke? Does it do the launch request in Amy's voice, or just that part?
No, it just gives the answer. We can do we can actually do the launch request.
I was gonna say maybe just throw it all in.
You're right. Yeah, let's just do the launch request. It's easier, and we don't have to go around like going directly to the answer intent. So okay, so let's say that we want to convert all of this to
and we can comment it out after.
Yeah. So what we want to do, I have to change this because I don't want Poly to generate the audio.
Nope.
Okay, and then we'll prepend the audio earlier. So now we should just do.
We need to change the speak. Oh wait, yeah,
we should just. That's it. It should just be plug and play, and then here we just
give
back
change
the
that to polyfied. Yeah. Okay.
Polyfied say, and it should work. If it doesn't, probably just because we need to tweak a little things. But I was playing it with it last night, and it was working perfectly. So, Amy, text, voice ID.
That should work.
I think that should work.
Give it a shot.
Let's deploy it. Updating. Alexa, open memory market.
You again? We are starting immediately. You better be ready. Can you remember what is left? Let us start off easy.
Quit. Now let's change it to Brian and show you how quickly changing the code is. So we've changed it to Brian, the voice to Brian, which is a male voice. We're updating the Lambda function now with the CLI. Alexa, open memory market. think I quit it accidentally.
Alexa, open memory market.
Welcome back. I will not wait for you to be ready. Assistants should always be ready.
So quick and
We
easy.
are getting started. Can you remember what is left? Let us start off easy.
Quit. And voila. So this is how easy it is when you
Just want
do
different
when you do the
voices.
boring work and set things up so that you don't need to hard code everything.
We had a comment as well. Vijivash, you have not made that function async and removed from the previous one the async definition. Did we do that? I think we fixed it.
Yeah,
Maybe.
is it because we didn't remove async here, or no? I think the launch request was already async because I was playing it with it last night. So I think that was what he was mentioning.
It's fine. Well,
so it was already async, but thanks for pointing that out that we didn't
Good
remove async. But I'm just going to keep it here because we will need to use it in here as
Eventually.
well. So I'd rather just keep it here, and then so that allows us to use await later on.
So let's configure the question. The
Yes.
exciting part,
Exactly.
getting Alexa to be a bit
Exactly.
nasty.
So we have the scores. So we have the scoring done. We have
different voices.
We have different
Polly.
voices that we can do the announcement with, and that would be a lot of fun. So we have a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, there's actually so much in here. She tells whether the user's new or not
Yep.
to the experience.
So let's move the poly stuff.
It does persistence.
It does persistence.
He says, nice, thank you. No, thank you. you're the real hero here.
No, thank you, really. So let's just prefix. Say prefix. Just so that we, sorry, is
does
equal
not
to
like that.
yeah, because I have to. I'm just defining it. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is determine how the question should be formulated right here, right in this little thing. We need to ask the damn question.
Because right now she just says the intro. She says,
Yeah.
let's begin.
Yeah.
And then that's it.
Yes.
So the logic is there,
Yeah.
but we don't have any of the distractors. We actually haven't even got Alexa saying what items she's putting in the basket. But we do have those in our code because I think we have the answer array. Like we have all the correct answers in our session attributes, but now we just need to make use of those and add those to our very
Exactly.
confusing text that Alexa's going to say.
So let's just for the sake of example, let's just
Like hard code them. Or...
no. Let's show them. So our level 1, right? So I have a thing here which is add to trolley. I add %s to my trolley. Despite being overly confident with my choice initially, I start to doubt it, but I stick with it in the end, right? So you would have these little snippets in there. Ideally, you will have like 100 or 200
so
of
many.
these. So just
Wow.
so it's like completely different.
Yeah.
And then you will finish it off with the question finisher, which is what is left in the cart? What is left? Can you remember what is left? Now, every time we do one of these operations in the question creator, in the question creating step, we need to update the trolley accordingly. So we are starting with an empty trolley, and every time we choose an item that we're adding to it, right? So all of these strings are adding one item to the trolley. So there's only one %s that we need to worry about, which is the placeholder. So let's go to our handlers, and in our launch request, because this is where we'll formulate the first question, let's say equals, and here we will need to put in choose a random add to trolley, right? And here we need to choose a random item and update trolley. That's about it.
So just to confirm, we have the user saying all 3 items at once.
No, it's however many you say will give you however many points.
Yeah, got it. Okay.
So that's how it works currently. So now we have to pick a random item from the trolley. So here I have an array of items. So we can start off with, I know that we said that the, so I have an aisles section, which is part of the language string. So it will then be used to reference this items stuff, right? And let's make sure that, yes, we are exporting it.
So it should be accessible from index.
Yes, so let's just choose, let's let aisle equals request attributes dot t aisles, and that will return by default one random one. which is sorry, where's language strings? And it will return. So we're going to aisles here, aisles, and it will return vegetables or fruit or meats. And we're going to use those three, one of those three, to access the various items and we'll pick one at random.
And so here's a question: we're going to get a random aisle back. How do we decide which, items to go for? Like, are we going to do like a comparison? Like, if the current aisle we're on is vegetables, get vegetable items. If we're on,
I'm going to show you right now. So we're going to go to session attributes, and we're going to set the aisle to be equal to aisle.
Yep.
Just so we remember it.
Yeah.
Right. Now we have to choose a random item that we're adding. Okay. So let item is equal to request attributes again dot t, and we're going to do add to trolley, and as an argument we'll pass in
aisle.
Sorry, no. Sorry, this is wrong. This will be here. So we are going to add a random item, right? Which we still need to pick. An item will be picked randomly by using get ran. I think we still have to access it. I have a helper function here.
Yeah, what is that function?
Called random element.
Oh, okay.
But we have to expose it. It is being exported, but I think we need to import it in the handlers, in the helper functions. Oh no, I have it, random element, okay. So here we need to just do let item equals random element. You'll see returns a random value from the array, and we'll put in items. I think that we need to import.
Yeah, what's in items at this point?
So items is in the language strings object. It is
I see.
List of items.
And how do we know that we're going to look at vegetables now?
Because these keys are exactly the same as the three values that have been picked at random using aisles. So this .t aisles will return one of these, and that will be the key used to access the items object.
So it's a key value sort of relationship, and that's what t comes in handy for. Okay.
But now we have to import the language strings, which I'm only using an interceptor so far. We'll call it items, and we'll import it from language strings. Okay. Now we have access to items, and let item equals to items aisle, right? Because aisle will return something like e.g. vegetables. Sorry, it's going to return like vegetables. And therefore, we're going to go to items and access the vegetable section, which is created here, the items vegetables, right? And that's also how you would localize the items object. You would have different names for each locale for different sections. So in German, you would not have vegetables, fruits, meats. You would have DE vegetables, DE fruits, DE meats, and you would access that.
Otherwise, things might get
yes
overlap.
So now we have a random aisle, which is being attributed to the session attributes as well. It's being saved. Then we have a random item, and a question is being formulated with that item. And now we have to update the trolley. So now let's session attributes dot trolley is equal to with item in it.
And just a random shout out for those watching the stream. We are checking out the chat and engaging. So if you have any questions about anything that we're doing here, going too fast, going too slow,
I mean, I know we're going.
Shout it out.
I know we're going very fast, but this is being recorded and it will be available on Twitch to watch. And I think we're going to also try and upload it to YouTube, so you can then watch on your own time. But I just want to make the most of these 2 hours and go a little quickly. But as I said, we're going to try and do more streams later in the year and just do things piece by piece, much slower. So apologies if I am going a little fast. I'm just really excited and I want to see this work.
We're all excited about it.
So session attributes.trolley is equal to item, or is an array with item in it. And now we finish up the question. And what's going to happen now is that we've created we've set the game and we can try it. So let's deploy the function and try it in the simulator. So I'm deploying the function now, updating Lambda function. Should take too long. Done. Now let's try and stop it and do open, or let's just click this, open memory market.
Sorry, your skill got this error.
Session
Sessions
attributes is not defined.
defined.
Perfect. I want to show you debug. I already have this stuff saved. But you see, if we want to debug this random error, what we want to do is copy this JSON input, go to our Lambda, create a test event. So configure test events, and we'll create a new one. I already have a launch request, but you would create a new one. You would call it launch request, for example. You would paste it in, and create. I already have it, so I'm just going to test and see what went wrong, right? Because it says, sorry, your skill got this error. Session attributes is not defined. I think I know why. Because probably here
you might just accidentally use it before.
We have the session attributes. Probably someone on Twitch has already spotted it.
Yeah, he's like these amateurs.
Let's just check whether.
I think I don't know. In CloudWatch, does it also capture the code line where this comes from?
Sometimes it really depends on the type of error. But let's see. Session attributes is not defined. Why is it not defined? Session attributes. Let's go back to the error. Sessions attributes, because I misspelled it, obviously. Sorry.
This guy.
That's my fault. So, oops. Let's just remove that extra S. And let's see if there's any more. Nope. Okay.
Control yourself.
All right. So, let's redeploy and try it out. So, yeah, I think that was just misspelled.
No,
that's on me. Sorry,
it
guys.
happens. It happens to the best, the worst.
So let's stop. And let's add the stop to our list.
Talk to you later.
Okay. Open memory market. Yeah.
Hey.
Welcome back. I will not wait for you to be ready. Assistants should always be ready. We are getting started. After much debate, I decide that I am 100% committed to adding halibut to my trolley. Please note that down. In your mind. What is left? Let us start off easy.
Sorry, I got confused. No, we're using the...
Yes, and now I would say halibut.
Sorry, I didn't catch that. Try again.
Scroll down in
Oh, wait.
Did it capture it?
Oh, no, it's
with the fallback intent.
That's really weird.
Let's do it again, mate. That's a very random...
Wait. I think I know why. Sorry. I think I know why. Because the utterances... I think we only put utterances that have all three of them in. Whereas we also should put when there's 1 and 2 of them in.
Yeah.
So that's on us. We made a poor interaction model. So let's go to the interaction model. You see here how we only have all 3 items in the samples.
Just copy,
which is a good way to show you how you would update things from the CLI without using the interface. So we would just have 2 of these, and just one. But when there's 2, we would also do and also without anything, and then just item
just
A.
one.
Done. So now we can just do ask deploy. I think target. Actually, let's do it. Let's do it from the.
Yeah. Well, I was like,
let's deploy the interaction model.
There you go.
Right. And profile default target model, and unknown option task. Let's just do it like this: ask and deploy. Target model. Do it like that. Dum. Arc.
Is it happening? Okay, cool. It is.
I think the Twitch streaming is slowing down my poor little laptop that is doing everything. It's streaming the webcam, it's streaming the screen. It's absorbing my hard key presses.
I was wondering why there's like a little fire on your laptop. I just thought that was part of the decoration.
So you see here how it's polling the status for all models, and once that's done, we will have successfully updated the model using the CLI and nothing else. That usually takes a little bit. So in the meantime, we can answer some questions.
Yes, and there are none. If you have, again, guys, definitely reach out, ask us stuff, or even after the stream, ask us on Twitter or join us on the forum. So much opportunity to engage with us and learn and make good skills. We are here to help.
Yeah,
we would love to help.
Now you're sounding like we're finishing, but we're not finishing.
We are not finishing.
We still have 20 minutes.
We're not Oh no! I just meant whilst it's building.
In these 20 minutes, we're gonna do a bunch. Oh, while we're building, I have a thing to change, which was incorrect. So the level 1, which is something that says something like "Let's start off easy," should come before the question. So we're going to put it here. Aisles. Let's put it here. Game intro. So level 1, just for those of you who don't know what that is, it's right here. It's something like "Let's start off easy." Level 2 will be, now we will make things a little harder, and level 3 will be, okay, now on to the hard stuff. And of course, here we will want many different versions of the same thing, but this is just for debugging purposes.
So that's still building.
Yes.
But we did get a question from Hugo Catchpole. Can Brian Polly deal with German translation?
Yes, there's different versions for Polly. So if we go here, we go to Polly.
I think they just recently brought out a Chinese one.
You just need to change the speaker. So the speaker name is the ID for each book. It's a unique ID. So you see that Kimberly is nowhere else on any of the other languages. So if you want German, you can't use Brian. You have Hans, right?
Hallo, mein Name ist Hans. Ich werde jeden Text vorlesen, den Sie eingeben.
And the cool thing is, and I'm going to try this right now. The cool thing is, you can also write English here.
Yeah, which is a very strong German accent.
Yes. So it'll be like,
just say anything English.
Welcome to the memory market game.
Welcome to the memory market game.
Oh, that's very strong.
Or if we wanted to give it an Italian accent, because I am Italian.
Welcome to the memory market game.
Does that
That's
sound like
exactly like an Italian.
Does that sound like home?
With an Italian accent? Yes. Or let's try something else. Let's try Portuguese.
Welcome to the memory market game.
Okay.
It's a bit less.
Yeah,
but,
not as.
But you get the idea, right?
There's a lot of choice.
Yes.
A lot of choice.
So we're gonna stick with Brian, but if you wanted to use German, then you would just replace that with Hans or with another speaker, Marlene.
Yeah.
Welcome to the memory market game.
So you don't even need to pass in like the locale or anything. You literally just need to pass in the name of the speaker.
Yeah.
That's the ID.
Yes,
I guess,
exactly. So the unique ID for every voice and language is the name of the speaker.
Easy.
Very, very easy.
I think did that build?
Let's see. Let's check back to our code editor. Yes, model deployment finished. So we changed a little bit of the question. So let's also deploy the Lambda, and that should take a second. Usually, if you make both changes, you can just do deploy, and it will automatically update both. But the Lambda will take a second, which is already done. And now we can. What we're going to do? We're going to try it, right?
I mean, even I think it's nice to hear, but don't forget you can also test it from VSC. You can do simulate. We won't probably. It's just a bit like hidden.
No, we can do it. I just want to show here like.
No, I like it here. It's nice. It's nice.
Just so that people can see a little better.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Welcome back.
Okay. Oh wait, that's what.
Assistance should always be ready. We are getting started. Let us start off easy. After much debate, I decide that I am 100% committed to adding corn to my trolley. Please note that down. In your mind, what is left in the cart?
That's so good.
And here...
And we know that's the correct answer because in the trolley, it's. I love being able to see that all now.
Yeah, I do corn.
Such attributes.
I heard the following values. Corn. You have 0 points.
Now the reason why it's not working.
Oh, you're changing it.
The reason why it's not working is because in our handlers.
For testing purposes,
we are overriding the trolley, which we will
get rid of that.
We will remove that now, and now we will. It should work. I just need to remove the database because I think it has updated that as well. So let's check that. Yeah, you see it updated with the trolley list, which was not supposed to do. So let's remove that.
Wouldn't that just be overwritten if we launched the skill again? though.
It
wouldn't.
Because it would repopulate. It would, but
whatever.
Let's just. Okay.
Hello. Welcome.
Let's listen to the whole thing. But the question here is cauliflower. So let's try and do cauliflower.
Cauliflower.
Oh, we forgot to deploy the code. Of course.
I was thinking, I'm like, wait, we need to deploy it, and then I just completely forgot.
I forgot to deploy the code. Okay, let's deploy the
We
code.
did deploy it. Anyway, it takes like a second anyway.
I didn't. Let's refresh and. Sorry, this is what happens when you hard code things, and that's why I try to never hard code things. But in this case, we did. So let's delete that, and now Let's stop. Oh, I think I know what we did. Look.
Oh, is it still broken? Oh.
I think when you do stop.
Again? It hard codes it in?
Let's
try it
now. Let's try it now.
Using our handy little Jovo extension.
Hello. Welcome to the Alexa Assistant Training Program. All prospective assistants to the voice assistant.
Okay, let's write lettuce. Hopefully. Oh, why is there carrots, broccoli, and cabbage?
I'm always told to eat your vegetables, and
I think it's because there's a latent thing somewhere.
Wait, can you search for it in? Would you be updating it somewhere else?
Okay, let's do something. Wait, I didn't save the file. Hold on.
Wait.
Wait. Okay, wait. Let's do stop now. So we delete the session.
Wait, so you deployed it without saving it? Maybe that could be the issue.
Maybe. I'm just gonna rule everything out. I'm gonna save. I'm gonna stop again. Twice.
Oh, I'm
gonna refresh the page.
Oh, I'm gonna get a new computer.
I'm gonna get in. Can you use your computer?
Oh, let's just.
I'm gonna do stop again, just to piss people off.
Wow.
Then I'm gonna refresh the DynamoDB, and if there's still cabbage somewhere, I will.
I quit. I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm done. Drop the.
Let's try that again. See, there's no session attributes being passed in.
So we've got peaches.
Yes.
Oh, we're in the fruit section. That's cool.
Yes, we're in the fruit section. Cool. So despite being overly confident, I start to doubt it, but I stick with it in the end. Can you remember what is left? And I do peaches. Oh, yes.
Finally.
Peaches. You have 5 points.
Okay, so it was just a...
You didn't save, maybe?
So no, okay, so the reason why, and if you fall into this same catch-22, it's not a catch-22, it's just not knowing that you have to stop everything. So the order in which you need to do things, if you have session attributes that are being repeatedly being re-added, is make sure that you stop the session completely, then delete the DynamoDB. Because if you don't stop the session and you stop it after you delete the DynamoDB entry, it will write the session attributes again with the stop intent, right? You don't want that.
Nope.
So stop everything and then delete the value. Now we're clean.
Oh, and Chuck said you did mention that you wanted to display some debugging.
Yes,
we certainly did, and we
hopefully this wasn't this was useful.
No,
so one thing that I've asked the team to add here, apart from the clickable speech bubbles so that will re-trigger the speech, I've also asked them to make it clear when the session is open.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's going to be added sooner or later.
Yeah. So I mean, there is the should end session, but sometimes that's in the output, sometimes it's not.
So if you need to test out the launch request, make sure that you just say launch, or sorry, make sure that you stop, right? Like I'm doing here, just say stop, even if it's a new window, just do stop, so it kills the session, and you can start again.
Yeah. So conscious of time, were there any other concepts we definitely wanted to cover?
Yeah, well, we've covered persistence, we've covered the attributes. Let's just try and do a second question.
Okay, fine. Leave multimodal.
I think we don't have to. Do you want to cover multimodal?
I'm just trying to think.
Okay, so if you want to add multimodal,
we could talk about it, I guess.
I just want to show them the Berry Bash skill.
Yeah, sure.
So if we go to Berry Bash, Node.js, I think, this is a skill that, by the way, you developed. Jamie developed this skill, and it is so. Maybe how about you talk about it since you built it?
Yeah. So you're like, yeah. So basically, if you're not aware, of course, Alexa is voice first, and we have so many Alexa-enabled devices out there, but we also have devices such as the Echo Show, the Echo Spot, and you guys can build skills specifically for those devices using another one of the directives we have called the render template, and you can do lists, you can do body templates. So if you scroll down a little bit, as an example, we have. Oh, it's a little bit small, but basically this is one of the body templates as an example. I want to say body template 3, but I can't remember which one. Shows fruits, shows text, and if you just go back to the repo.
Yep.
Long story short, this repo that I wrote quite a while ago. It basically is it's a skill about berries with render template support, so you can find out all about berries. There's two parts of the skill. There's a quiz section, so you can be tested on your berry knowledge, and then there's like a dictionary, so you can find out more about certain berries. And it's really it's worth checking out because first of all, it shows off all of the concepts and stuff you can do with the render template directive. Number two, if we go the way I designed this is you guys can literally just go. Oh, I have no idea what I'm doing with this Mac. I'm not a Mac person. What is that?
Okay, this is
what is this?
It's called Force Touch.
What is this? So basically, the way I designed it is you guys can take this code and change all of the stuff at the top of the index.js. I should have done the organization stuff like Andrea did. I didn't, but here we go. You can change the theme so very easily by just changing the content in the variables at the top. And yeah, you can make it about planets. You can make it about I don't know any category you want.
And keep in mind that this is multimodal by default.
Yeah, by default.
And if you're trying to enter the games challenge, I think there's special prize for multimodals. Why not base it off or get some of the code from the Berry Bash template?
Well, I mean, off the top of my head, we have a function called body template maker.
Body template maker, yes.
So just go to the function.
Yes, I'm trying to go.
There it is. So of course you guys can build it yourself by getting the response from the handler input and then adding it. Or in this case, I didn't want to keep doing that over and over, so I made a function which takes in, there's so many body template types. So you pass in the body template type, you pass in the handler input, the content like the text, the title, any images, any not buttons, but action text. So even if you don't necessarily reuse all of the code, at the very least, to save you some time, check out some of the functions here and use them. Makes your life a little bit easier.
Yeah, and it's just so hard because I wanted to cover so many other things in this damn series, and it's just it's just so hard to do everything in 3 episodes. But I think this is another reason to continue doing another series once we're done with this one. So I think we should do a series on multimodal, also because we're launching the new APL language soon. Like, it's been launched, but it's still in the very early days. So maybe we'll do a series dedicated to APL, which is the Alexa presentation language, which is basically going a step beyond the render templates and allowing you to build your own templates. So allowing you to build your own, let's say, responsive visuals that will scale on whatever device. Then we'll look at I promised in this game as well that we would add leaderboards. So I would say the memory market will not die. Memory market is alive and will stay alive, guys. Trust me. I am just going to take some time to polish it a little. Actually create a better version of the game mechanics, and then we can take that and start playing with APL. We can start playing with the leaderboards. So I think this is a great reason to have another stream. For those of you who did tune in for all 3 streams, I really hope that this was a useful use of your time. My goal here was to just give you ideas and get your mind running on what you could build and how. I will be publishing the repo of Memory Market as soon as I have it in a decent state. Maybe initially in my own personal GitHub repo, which is Mutoni, so just my last name. I'll be publishing it there. If I may also, and if anyone wants to contribute, then please feel free to. Any questions?
Yes. Well, Lordy said he likes the idea of a multimodal stream. Time was pretty good till you mentioned all the things you didn't have time for, as always.
Yes, exactly. It's I tried to go quickly. I tried to do work outside of the stream, but it's just impossible to fit everything in.
I mean, I'd much prefer a stream that covers a few of the concepts very, very well, deep, rather than just touching on multiple. Because I know you can do that, but I don't know. I'd much rather be really good at one thing rather than at other stuff. So.
And I might be doing a dedicated webinar on Poly as soon as I have the module ready to publish on NPM. I'll be doing a dedicated webinar on just like state management and everything. And then we'll definitely kick off a Twitch series.
We can talk. So check Berry Bash out. But
Yes.
in terms of, so did we want to? We only have 6 minutes. We have time for adding one more question, or
Let's do it. Let's race.
Time
Let's
is
race.
of the essence.
Let's race. So in our launch request, we start the first question. Ideally, we'd want this to be its own function so that we can call it in the launch request handler and in the answer intent handler. But let's just do it sloppily for now, and then I'll clear things
clean
up.
this up later.
Yeah. So here I will generate another question, right? And we can copy some of the code that we have here.
I guess we'd also have to check which question they're on, because otherwise it will just keep asking.
Exactly. So we will.
Well, that's like
So here, rather than generating a new IL, we read what the IL is by going on the session attributes.il, because it's already been set in the launch request.
Yeah.
And the item is again a random element. Here we would also check that it's not the same item as last time, right? That's something that we can do later. And we're just going to generate a new question, add a question finisher, and instead of equaling here, we're just going to push the item to the array so that it
just goes to the end of it.
Yes.
Yep.
And now we're in the current question is this +1, or I think we can do like plus equals 1, but I don't want shorthand to be the reason for failure, so we're going to just do it the long way. And okay. The level is equal to.
Is it the same as level +1?
No, because there's 3 questions per level.
Oh, okay.
So we'll do we'll do the level handling later, but technically, what's going to happen now is it's going to keep generating questions every time we give an answer. So
that's cool. We can test it. We can test this game loop and
exactly. So actually, all of this needs to be moved after we generate the response. So basically, what the response will be, and this we need to move all the way down before we finish the request. So we update the session attributes.
Whoa, that's cool that you did that.
Yeah, it's Alt down.
Yeah.
So what we need to do here is go through it. I heard the following values. This is going to be the score update. I don't want it to say this. I want it to be a bit.
What about like you're right? I have.
It could also be you're wrong, right?
Oh.
We should check the score. Based on the score, it will tell us. So what we would really need to do is go to the game section and change the calculate score to be like get check answer, and instead of returning a value, it should return an object with what values were right, what values were wrong, and and then what values we can check. But we only have 2 minutes left, so I'll do that offline. So let's go to the handlers. Question finisher. It should work. It'll just keep asking questions.
Yeah. So let's deploy the
Lambda.
So
let's keep the reprompt here.
That'll keep the session open.
And let's just do here as like I didn't hear that. I did not hear that.
We probably won't even hit that.
Yes, we won't hit that. But let's do the.
Did you save?
I saved.
Cool.
We're going to deploy.
This can be like survival mode or something where you just keep asking.
Yes. So let's see if it works.
Is it deployed?
This is so stressful.
Even Chuck said, provide insane level where you assign a cost to the item. You need to keep track of the value of the trolley.
Oh, nice.
Are you crazy?
Nice. I like it.
So it's hard enough already. But yeah, I like that. We can.
Yes. So we're going to stop here. And then we're going to open memory market. So
you again. I will not wait for you to be ready. Assistants should always be ready.
I guess
we are getting started. Let us start off easy. After much debate, I decide that I am 100% committed to adding salmon to my trolley. Please note that down. In your mind, can you remember what is left?
Salmon.
I heard the following values. Salmon. You have 5 points. After much debate, I decide that I am 100% committed to adding crab to my trolley. Please note that down. In your mind, what is left?
Salmon and crab.
I heard the following values. salmon, crab.
This is sweet.
You have 10 points.
Hey.
I walk along the island, I daydream about what I will eat. I decide that ground beef will hit the spot. I add it to my trolley. What is left?
Salmon, crab, and ground beef.
I heard the following values: salmon, crab, ground beef. You have 15 points.
Okay,
Hey.
awesome. So what we're going to do now is we forgot to update the score. So the score should be added onto, but that's just something that's just a nice to have. So where is score, by the way? Oh, score is here. We're in the answer intent, yes. So we just need to update the score. So session attributes dot score is equal to session attributes dot score plus score. Just so that it keeps summing up. And once there's 3 items in the trolley, then we should change the level. So if we do, so for example, here we would do if like session attributes dot trolley dot length is greater than is equal to 3, then we will change the level and generate a new item.
Yeah.
But this is where we need to start having a dedicated function to generate the question based on level, based on the state of the trolley, and I can't wait to make this, and we'll have a dedicated stream on. I'm gonna plan something. Don't worry.
Yeah.
We are not stopping here, but thank you for all of those who did join. We kind of had a working skill.
Yeah, we got the basic foundation working. The game
Yes.
somewhat works.
Yeah.
There's a few other bits and pieces I think we need to cover,
Yeah.
but whatever. Like this is good.
Yes. Shall we add a random announcement just as a closer?
For fun. Let's do it.
I know that we're out of time, but I think it would be fun. So let's just always add an annoying announcement
With Polly.
with Polly.
Nice.
Yes. So here, let's just add it here.
So whilst you code that, so Pretech Ray said need to keep a daily high score board. Yep, I think that's something we agreed on, and we'll take a look, but we'll definitely do something with DynamoDB or persistent attributes, something like that. But that's a very good point. We need that for competition's sake. You've shared some excellent tips in the series, guys. Many thanks for doing it. Thank you for attending and participating in the chat. We wouldn't have even had this idea if it wasn't for people in the chat.
Absolutely not.
We appreciate it.
This was very community driven.
Yeah.
So we have a qualified say, which is, let's just call it announcement, which is generated in Brian's voice. And before that announcement, I want to add a audio of sounds dot, I think it's uppercase, sounds dot announcement, which is like the announcement sound. And we will do, so this is my helper function that generates an audio SSML using the sounds announcement, and then the text-to-speech will also return an audio SSML, but they will both be strings, which will be concatenated. And we will add the announcement before the finisher. So we'll do say equals announcement.
Yep, that looks good.
I mean, this is a lot of things to add.
I know.
As a last-minute thing, but let's see if it works. Updating the Lambda function. So we basically need to start the game, and in the answer intent, there should always be a finisher. Oh God, it's never gonna work first time. It's never gonna work first time.
No, not with that attitude. But I think let's.
Okay, open memory market.
You're upsetting me that you don't use the extension. Oh, cool.
Starting immediately. You better be ready. Let us start off easy.
Mushrooms.
I add mushrooms to my.
No.
Sorry,
Okay.
Your skill got this error.
Audio is not defined. Okay, let's see. Audio is not defined. Where is audio here? Oh, audio, of course. This has to be a string. Audio.
Oh,
Okay.
I see.
Because it's a type of SSML to generate. Come on. We got this, guys.
We got this. We're a few minutes over. We're gonna do this.
Come on.
We're so close.
Hopefully there's no stream. If there is a stream, it's going to override us, and it's fine. But
I bet Just is about to work. It just cuts off.
Yes.
Okay.
Leaves us suspense.
Welcome to the office hours.
Yeah, welcome. In Polly.
Welcome back.
Okay.
I will not
Lemon,
wait for you to
soul.
be ready. I heard the following values. Lemon soul. You have 5 points. After much debate, I decide that I am 100% committed to adding cod to my trolley. Please note that down in your mind.
We are committed to helping families live healthier, which is why you'll find a wide assortment of quality fresh and packaged organic products. Look for our signs throughout the store.
Did you write
What
that?
is left?
That's so random, but like I love that.
But you see
That's
how it works?
Yeah,
That
yeah,
it
yeah,
completely
yeah.
confuses you.
Yeah,
You're like,
yeah.
wait, what did you add? And there's Brian just giving a random
Who's
announcement.
Brian? This random guy comes
And now
in.
we do lemon, soul, and cod.
I heard the following values. Lemon, soul, cod.
Okay, we have to fix
you
that.
have
but...
5 points.
Oh, I wrote it wrong.
After
It's
much debate,
soul.
I decide that I am 100% committed to adding shrimp to my trolley. Please note
There
that
should be
down
another announcement.
in your
Another
mind.
announcement.
Oh, I love that noise.
Attention, this is an announcement. Please continue shopping.
Can you remember what is left?
What?
Oh my god, I love these announcements. This is what makes the skill fun. Okay.
But that's so good. Like imagine like having people over and showing like, oh, but wait for it, then ding ding. It's so good.
And
It's
it
so
really
good.
works in making you forget what was being added.
I've already forgotten.
I was already forgotten. Yeah, it was shrimp, but whatever.
Yeah.
Only because I
Nice.
can see the session attributes. Okay, guys. Thank you so much for joining. I will continue working on Memory Market, and I'll be publishing the source code. I'll be publishing the poly thing as a separate NPM module so you can use it with the instructions. And we will organize a new Twitch stream with the Memory Market stuff. Thank you, everyone. All the best. Remember to sign up for the Games Challenge and submit it. If you are a UK and German developer. Unfortunately, this is only EU, but I think Paul earlier in the chat shared
the
US
one,
challenge, which is not. I don't think it's a Games Challenge, but it's
No, it's a related. It's another.
it's another
Tech for
challenge.
Good, was it? Or-
Yeah, but just check on the developer portal. There's all these challenges posted there, and 17th of October is the deadline for this. Please submit.
Start developing.
Finish
submitting.
Finish developing. Start
Yeah.
submitting. Have a great evening if you're in the EU. Great morning if you're in the US, and great middle of the night if you're further east.
Just yeah.
And it really was a pleasure to do this together. So thank you very much, and this is us signing off.
Thanks, guys. See ya.